The Laws of Power and Success in the Modern World by Imperium Audiobooks. Power, success, influence. These are the currencies of the modern world. Not paper, not coins, not even digital money alone, but the ability to shape reality, to bend circumstances, to move people and events in your favor. Look around, the world doesn't reward just hard work. It rewards strategy. It rewards positioning. It rewards those who know how to operate by the laws that govern achievement. This audiobook is not about outdated theories. It's not about wishful thinking or tired clichés. It is about practical laws, timeless principles adapted for the modern age that will allow you to command respect, grow your wealth, expand your influence, and rise above mediocrity. Here you'll learn why ordinary ambition is not enough, why talent without leverage is wasted, and why persistence must be guided by intelligence. You'll uncover the patterns of high achievers across industries, entrepreneurs, leaders, artists, innovators, and see how they built empires not by chance but by design. And by the end of this book, I promise you this, you will not only understand the laws of power and success, you'll be equipped to apply them. You'll know how to think, act, and move like someone who creates opportunities rather than waits for them. You'll have the tools to stop chasing and start attracting. You'll have the mindset to stop surviving and start ruling your space in the modern world. So prepare yourself. This is more than a guide. It's a blueprint. A playbook for those ready to step into influence and wealth, without apology, without hesitation, and without limits. Your transformation begins here. Chapter 1. The Foundation of Modern Power. Power has always existed. From the dawn of civilizations, those who understood the invisible strings of influence ruled, while those who didn't remained subjects of other people's games. In the modern world, the tools of power have shifted. No longer is it simply about land, armies, or brute force. Today, power is built through perception, positioning, networks, information, and the ability to influence minds. Success is not random, nor is it purely meritocratic. It is structured, and those who understand the structure rise to the top. The first law of modern power is control of perception. In the 21st century, perception is stronger than reality. The billionaire on stage in a designer suit who projects certainty and authority will be followed, admired, and imitated. Even if behind closed doors, his life is chaotic. The influencer with millions of followers shapes trends, shifts opinions, and creates movements, not necessarily because they are the smartest, but because they control how they are seen. If you want power today, you must first master how others see you. Your image is not an accessory. It is your armor, your weapon, and your first step toward influence. But image without substance is fragile. Which brings us to the second law, leverage through knowledge and strategy. Knowledge today is more abundant than ever. We live in the age of infinite information, but information is not power. Applied information is power. Belongs to those who know where to direct their energy, how to connect the dots others miss, and how to anticipate what is coming next. Think of Warren Buffett, who built his empire not on trends but on timeless investment principles applied with surgical precision. He doesn't chase noise. He uses clarity, patience, and foresight as leverage. This is modern power, not being the loudest in the room but the most prepared. The third law of modern power is network capital. In ancient times, kings ruled because they had armies. In the modern era, leaders rise because they have networks. Your relationships are your new army. The right alliances can open doors, money can't. The right connections can catapult you into rooms where decisions are made and futures are decided. It is no coincidence that successful entrepreneurs, leaders, and innovators always surround themselves with other high-level thinkers. They understand that proximity is power, and that your future is determined by who you are connected to. If you want to rise, you cannot isolate yourself. You must intentionally build alliances that multiply your reach. The fourth law is discipline of execution. Many dream, few act. In the digital age, distractions are everywhere. Endless scrolling, instant gratification, and the trap of consumption. True power is the ability to focus when everyone else is fragmented. Success requires not just ambition, but systems. The millionaire who builds a business doesn't just dream about it. They wake up earlier, plan their day, take calculated risks, and execute relentlessly. In the modern world, the disciplined executor has more power than the creative dreamer who never acts. Another law you cannot ignore is adaptability. The world is moving at unprecedented speed. Technology disrupts industries overnight. Platforms rise and fall. What worked yesterday may be obsolete tomorrow. To succeed, you must be like water, adaptable, fluid, ready to shift strategies without losing your vision. Netflix began as a DVD delivery service. Had it resisted change, it would have died with the decline of physical media. Instead, it adapted, embraced streaming, and redefined entertainment worldwide. In contrast, Blockbuster refused to adapt and vanished. Adaptability is not optional. It is survival. Yet the most critical law of power in the modern world is self-mastery. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead others. Power is first internal, before it becomes external. This means mastering your thoughts, emotions, impulses, and habits. A leader without self-control eventually self-destructs. The entrepreneur who lets fear dictate decisions misses opportunities. The executive who cannot manage stress collapses under pressure. The politician who cannot resist temptation falls into scandal. True, lasting power begins with conquering yourself. Once you command your own mind, discipline your own habits, and harness your own energy, the world cannot easily control you. Think of Elon Musk. Regardless of whether you admire or dislike him, one thing is undeniable: he is a master of energy and focus. He places himself in arenas that shape the future: space, energy, technology, and works with relentless intensity. He faces criticism, setbacks, even ridicule, but his ability to command his vision and persist regardless makes him one of the most influential figures alive. That is not accidental. That is self-mastery applied at scale. Now let's pause here. Some may wonder, are these laws really necessary? Can't someone succeed with talent, luck, or hard work alone? The answer is simple. Talent without strategy is wasted. Luck favors the prepared, and hard work, without intelligence, often leads to burnout instead of breakthrough. The modern world does not reward the busiest. It rewards the most effective. The person who knows the rules of the game and plays them better than others. Your foundation, then, must be built on these cornerstones: perception, leverage, networks, discipline, adaptability, and self-mastery. Without these, your efforts will scatter, your energy will dilute, and your potential will remain locked. With them, however, you can shape outcomes, command respect, and position yourself for wealth and influence on a scale most people only dream about. So ask yourself, how do people currently perceive you? Are you strategically leveraging your knowledge, or drowning in endless information? Who is in your circle, and do they elevate or limit you? Do you execute with discipline, or are you a prisoner of distraction? Are you adaptable in a rapidly changing world, or stuck in old ways? Most importantly, do you rule yourself, or do your impulses, fears, and habits rule you? The answers to these questions will reveal whether you are truly ready to build power in this modern era, or whether you are still living as a spectator in other people's games. Here's the truth. Nobody is coming to hand you success. Nobody will give you power freely. In fact, the world will resist you, test you, and at times try to break you. But if you embrace these foundational laws, you will rise above resistance. You will stop being a pawn and become a player. You will stop reacting and start directing. You will stop chasing and start attracting. This is the beginning. The laws you will learn in the chapters ahead will sharpen your mindset, refine your strategy, and give you the tools to dominate in business, relationships, and life. But never forget, without a foundation, a building cannot stand, and the foundation of modern power is built here. The next step is yours. Will you simply listen, or will you apply? Will you remain an observer, or will you step onto the stage of influence? Decide carefully, because your answer will determine not just your future, but the legacy you leave behind. Chapter 2. The Law of Strategic Influence. Influence is the true currency of the modern world. Money matters, status matters, but influence is what multiplies both. If you can influence how people think, what they value, and how they act, you can shape outcomes far larger than what raw talent or effort alone could ever produce. The law of strategic influence is not about manipulation or deceit. Those eventually collapse. It is about intentionally positioning yourself so that your voice, your ideas, and your presence carry weight. In a world overwhelmed by noise, those who master this law rise above the crowd and set the direction for others. Think about it. Every major figure you admire, whether in business, politics, or culture, did not rise on their own merit alone. They cultivated influence. Steve Jobs influenced how we interact with technology. Oprah Winfrey influenced how millions think about personal growth and storytelling. Nelson Mandela influenced not just South Africa but the conscience of the world. Their power was not brute. It was persuasive, strategic, and deeply human. So how do you cultivate influence in the modern world? The first step is to establish authority in your domain. People do not follow the uncertain. They follow those who project confidence, clarity, and conviction. Authority comes from two sources: demonstrated competence and consistent communication. Demonstrated competence means you actually know what you're doing. You produce results, you solve problems, you innovate solutions. But competence alone is not enough if nobody sees it. Consistent communication makes your authority visible. The expert who hides in the shadows is ignored. The one who shares ideas, insights, and value becomes a voice people listen to. But here's the nuance. Influence is not built by shouting the loudest. It's built by delivering value where others see noise. In a digital age where everyone is posting, tweeting, and streaming, real influence comes from clarity. If you can simplify complexity, if you can articulate what others feel but cannot express, you win attention. And once you win attention, you can direct it. That is influence. The second step is to master emotional resonance. Facts alone rarely move people. Humans are not purely logical, they are emotional beings. Influence requires connecting not just with the mind but with the heart. Martin Luther King Jr. "My Have a Dream" speech was not a policy paper, it was a vision painted in emotional color. It touched something primal in people: hope, justice, unity. That resonance moved a nation. In your journey you must learn to attach your ideas to emotions people already feel: desire, fear, ambition, belonging. When your words and actions touch the emotional core of others, they follow willingly. Third, strategic influence requires positioning yourself in environments of leverage. A brilliant voice in an empty room is wasted. Influence grows when it is placed in arenas where it multiplies. This means entering industries, platforms, and communities where your presence can have ripple effects. A thought leader writes not just in private journals but in publications where decision makers read. An entrepreneur doesn't only network with peers at the same level, they seek rooms where power brokers gather. The modern world rewards those who understand that influence is about placement as much as it is about substance. You must be seen in the right places by the right people at the right time. Fourth, and perhaps most overlooked, influence requires control of narrative. People respond to stories more than facts. Stories shape reality. Every religion, every nation, every movement in history has been built on narrative. Leaders who understand this craft narratives that elevate them, align followers and neutralize opposition. Consider how brands like Apple, Tesla or Nike don't just sell products, they sell stories. Apple tells you you're creative and different. Tesla tells you you're part of the future. Nike tells you you're unstoppable. That's not coincidence, it's deliberate narrative control. If you want power in the modern world, you must define your story before others define it for you. Another critical element of influence is reciprocity. The strongest influencers are not those who demand first, but those who give first. Give value, give opportunities, give insights, give help. People naturally align with those who invest in them. This doesn't mean being a people pleaser that erodes power. It means offering strategic generosity. The leader who mentors others builds loyalty. The entrepreneur who provides massive value before charging builds trust. Influence grows strongest when people feel indebted to you, not because you manipulated them, but because you genuinely enriched their lives. Yet influence without integrity is a ticking time bomb, which brings us to the cautionary truth. Power built on lies eventually collapses. There are countless examples of figures who rose quickly through manipulation, only to fall even faster when the truth emerged. The modern world is hyper-connected. Deceit is eventually exposed. Sustainable influence comes from alignment between what you project and who you are. If you promise excellence, deliver it. If you claim vision, embody it. This alignment builds credibility, and credibility is the bedrock of long-term influence. So how do you begin applying the law of strategic influence in your own life? Start small. Identify your domain of competence. What can you do better than most? Begin sharing that competence visibly and consistently. Next, refine how you communicate. Are you clear, compelling, and emotionally resonant? Then expand your arena. Are you placing yourself in environments where your voice carries weight? Craft your story. Are you shaping how others see you, or are you letting random impressions dictate your image? Finally, invest in people. Are you building reciprocity and loyalty through genuine value? Let's pause for a moment and make this personal. Imagine yourself 2 years from now having applied these principles. Picture walking into a room and feeling the atmosphere shift because of your presence. Imagine speaking and people listening with full attention. Picture opportunities coming to you, partnerships, clients, invitations, offers, not because you begged for them, but because your influence drew them in. That is the power of strategic influence. It transforms you from a seeker of opportunity into a magnet for it. The modern world is not just about working harder, it is about positioning smarter. The person with influence can achieve in one conversation what others cannot in years of effort. Influence is leverage. Influence is acceleration. Influence is power. And here is the truth you must hold on to. Everyone already has some degree of influence. You influence your family, your colleagues, your community. The only question is, are you influencing by accident or by design? Are you passively shaped by circumstance, or are you strategically shaping perception, emotion, and action around you? The law of strategic influence says this: to gain power and success in the modern world, you must stop being invisible, stop being passive, and start intentionally shaping the world's response to you. Influence is not reserved for the famous or the elite. It is available to anyone willing to master perception, emotion, positioning, narrative, and reciprocity. If you learn to wield influence with wisdom, doors will open, alliances will form, wealth will grow, and your impact will multiply. Without it, you may remain talented, hardworking, and even brilliant, but invisible. And invisibility is the enemy of power. The choice, as always, is yours. Chapter 3. The Law of Leverage. If there is one law that separates the average from the extraordinary, it is this: the law of leverage. Leverage is the force that allows you to achieve exponentially more than your raw time, effort, or resources would ever permit. Without leverage, Success is slow, limited, and exhausting. With leverage, success accelerates, multiplies, and compounds. Leverage is not new. It has been at the core of every empire, every fortune, every revolution. Ancient builders used physical levers to move stones that human strength alone could not. Military strategists used alliances and terrain to multiply the force of small armies. Entrepreneurs throughout history have used capital, labor, and innovation to build wealth far beyond what their own two hands could produce. The principle has never changed. Those who understand leverage move the world, while those who don't remain trapped in effort without scale. So, what exactly is leverage in the modern world? It is the ability to achieve results disproportionate to your personal input. It's doing one action that creates 10 outcomes, one decision that produces 100 results, one system that continues working long after you've stopped. In short, leverage is about making effort compound rather than remain linear. There are 4 primary forms of leverage in the modern world: capital, people, technology, and media. Each one can either trap you if ignored or propel you if mastered. 1. Capital leverage. Money is not power by itself. It is potential power. Money becomes powerful when it is used as leverage. A single dollar can buy you time, skill, or access that multiplies its effect. This is why the wealthy grow wealthier. They understand that money is not to be stored but to be put to work. When you invest in a business, you are leveraging the innovation, labor, and systems of others. When you put capital into assets, real estate, equities, intellectual property, you are letting money earn while you sleep. Without leverage, money devalues. With leverage, it compounds into freedom. 2. People leverage. No one achieves greatness alone. The most powerful individuals are not those who do everything themselves, but those who mobilize others toward a shared vision. Leaders use people leverage by building teams, partnerships, and networks. Every great entrepreneur from Henry Ford to Elon Musk scaled their impact not by working harder individually, but by orchestrating the talents of thousands. Even in personal life, influence and relationships form leverage. A single introduction can open doors that years of solitary effort cannot. People are not obstacles to independence. They are multipliers of your independence. 3. Technology leverage. In the past, leverage came from armies and machinery. Today it comes from digital tools. Technology is perhaps the most powerful form of modern leverage because it operates without fatigue, across borders at scale. A single app can serve millions of people simultaneously. A single automated system can replace years of manual labor. Consider the leverage of social media algorithms. One video, one article, one idea can reach millions overnight. Technology doesn't just enhance effort, it multiplies it exponentially. The individuals and organizations that understand this are not just competing, they are dominating. 4. Media leverage. Ideas are the most underestimated form of leverage. Media, books, videos, podcasts, platforms allows your voice to echo long after you've spoken. A speech can reach thousands, a published book can reach millions, a single piece of digital content can live forever, shaping minds decades after it was created. This is why in the modern world creators hold immense power. Media leverage allows influence to scale beyond geography and time. Those who fail to use media remain local. Those who master it become global. But leverage is not only about tools, it is also about mindset. Most people operate on the principle of addition. They think in terms of adding one effort to one result. High performers think in terms of multiplication, one effort, many results. For example, the average person teaches one-on-one, but a leveraged thinker creates a course that teaches thousands simultaneously. The average person works 8 hours for one paycheck. A leveraged thinker builds assets that generate income continuously. Here lies the danger. Many resist leverage because it feels like giving up control. They want to do it all themselves to ensure perfection, to avoid risk. But in doing so, they trade growth for comfort, scale for security, and remain trapped in limitation. Leverage requires letting go, trusting systems, empowering people, investing capital, and building platforms. Yes, there is risk, but the greater risk is in refusing leverage and staying small. Let's consider an example. Imagine two writers. The first writes in private, shares with a small circle, and works tirelessly to hand-deliver their wisdom. The second publishes online, uses media platforms, builds an audience, and allows technology to distribute their work endlessly. Who has more impact? Who builds more opportunity? Both may be equally talented, but only one understands leverage. Leverage also operates in time. Time is the most finite resource, yet leverage can stretch it. When you delegate, you are multiplying time. When you automate, you are creating time. When you invest in assets, you are buying future time. Every moment you free from tasks that can be done by others or by systems is a moment you gain for vision, strategy, and growth. This is why billionaires guard their time more than their money. Money can be regained, time cannot. The modern world, with its digital infrastructure, offers unprecedented access to leverage. You can build an online business from your phone. You can publish a message that circles the globe in seconds. You can create systems that work for you while you sleep. Yet many remain stuck in outdated thinking, trading hours for dollars, trading presence for paychecks. They cling to the illusion of safety in effort, instead of embracing the reality of scale in leverage. Here is the core truth of the law of leverage. You are either being leveraged, or you are leveraging. If you don't use leverage, someone else is using you as theirs. Employees who never build skills, assets, or influence are being leveraged by companies. Consumers who endlessly consume but never create are leveraged by creators. The choice is clear: remain a cog in someone else's system, or build systems of your own. So how do you apply leverage in your life today? Begin with awareness. Identify where you are working linearly, where 1 unit of effort gives 1 unit of result. Then ask, how can this be multiplied? Can this be delegated, automated, published, systemized, invested? The answer is always yes, if you're willing to think differently. Second, build one form of leverage at a time. Don't try to master all at once. Maybe you begin with media leverage, sharing your knowledge online. Maybe you start with people leverage, building a small team. Maybe you focus on capital leverage, learning to invest wisely. Whichever you choose, the compound effect will expand into the others. Finally, commit to a leveraged lifestyle. This means always asking, does this action multiply my impact, or merely add to my busyness? Does this decision free time, or consume it? Does this system scale, or does it depend entirely on me? Every great leader, entrepreneur, and thinker asks these questions relentlessly. That is why their lives grow while others stagnate. The law of leverage is not optional in the modern world. Without it, you will always be outpaced by those who use it. With it, you can achieve in 1 year what others fail to in a decade. Leverage is the great equalizer. It allows the visionary with little capital, little status, little backing, to rise and compete with giants. It is the tool of acceleration, the amplifier of power, the multiplier of success. And so the choice is yours. Will you continue operating at the pace of your own hands and hours, or will you step into the exponential world of leverage? Will you live small, or will you scale? The law of leverage declares, stop working only harder, start working multiplied. Stop being the worker, start being the orchestrator. Stop thinking addition, start thinking multiplication, because in the end, effort may build survival, but leverage builds empires. Chapter 4. The Law of Adaptability. If leverage accelerates your rise, adaptability ensures your survival. The modern world is not static. It is a storm of change, disruption, and reinvention. Technology advances overnight. Industries collapse in months. Cultural shifts rewrite rules in real time. What once took centuries to evolve now transforms in years. In such a world, the rigid are broken, while the adaptable thrive. The law of adaptability states that the most powerful are not always the strongest or the smartest, but the most flexible, those who can adjust their strategies, reinvent their identities, and evolve their methods without losing sight of their vision. Power is not permanence, it is relevance. And relevance belongs to the adaptable. History proves this. Consider the fate of empires. The Roman Empire rose through adaptability, absorbing cultures, integrating systems, adopting technologies from conquered lands. But when Rome grew rigid, refusing to adapt to new threats and economic shifts, it collapsed. In the business world, giants like Kodak and Blockbuster crumbled because they resisted change. Kodak invented the digital camera but clung to film. Blockbuster laughed at streaming. Meanwhile, Netflix adapted, shifting from DVDs to streaming, then from streaming to original content, then from content to global dominance. The lesson is brutal but clear. Those who resist change are destroyed by it. Those who embrace it redefine the world. Adaptability has three dimensions: mental adaptability, strategic adaptability, and identity adaptability. Together they determine whether you stay relevant or become obsolete. 1. Mental adaptability. At its core, adaptability begins with mindset. Most people cling to beliefs as if they were permanent truths. They resist new ideas because they threaten their comfort zones. But the adaptable mind is fluid. It asks, what is changing? What am I missing? What must I unlearn? Mental adaptability is the willingness to challenge your own assumptions, to hold strong opinions loosely, to embrace uncertainty as opportunity. Think of the greatest innovators: Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. Their genius was not only vision but flexibility. Jobs reinvented Apple multiple times, from computers to music players to phones to ecosystems. Bezos transformed Amazon from a bookstore into the world's largest marketplace, then into a tech company with AWS, then into a streaming platform. Musk moves between cars, rockets, energy, and AI. Their secret is not just intelligence. It's a mind that adapts faster than the world shifts. 2. Strategic adaptability. Mental flexibility is worthless without strategic adjustment. This is where leaders pivot, redirect resources, and embrace new models. Strategy is never fixed. It must evolve with context. The pandemic revealed this truth vividly. Restaurants that refused to adapt closed. Those that pivoted to delivery, digital menus, and online branding survived. Education institutions that clung to tradition suffered. Those that embraced digital platforms expanded globally. Strategic adaptability is the difference between extinction and expansion. The key principle is this: strategies are temporary, principles are permanent. Your core values may remain, but your tactics must shift. A leader who says, "This is how we've always done it," has already signed their decline. An adaptable strategist asks instead, what does the new reality demand? How can we align our principles with fresh tactics? 3. Identity adaptability. This is the deepest and hardest form of change. Most people cling not just to habits but to identities. They say, "I am this kind of person, I do this kind of work, I belong to this kind of world." But identity too must evolve. The ability to let go of who you were to become who you must be is the essence of reinvention. Muhammad Ali was not just a boxer. He adapted his identity into an activist, a cultural icon, a global voice. Oprah Winfrey began as a talk show host, but reinvented herself into a media mogul, producer, and billionaire philanthropist. Arnold Schwarzenegger transformed from bodybuilder to movie star to governor. These figures embody identity adaptability, the courage to rewrite the story of who you are. The rigid identity traps people in small lives. The adaptable identity expands them into new frontiers. Ask yourself, am I willing to shed labels, roles, and narratives that no longer serve my evolution? If not, you are already limiting your future. But let us go deeper. Why do so many resist adaptability? Because change threatens the ego. Change demands humility, the admission that what once worked no longer does, that yesterday's knowledge may be irrelevant today. Change strips us of certainty, and most would rather cling to a sinking ship than face the unknown sea. Yet the unknown sea is where power lies. The adaptable see what others fear, that disruption is not destruction but rebirth. Every collapse creates space for a new model. Every crisis unlocks opportunities unseen by the rigid. Every technological revolution births new wealth for those bold enough to pivot. Adaptability is not just survival, it is dominance in disguise. How then can you cultivate adaptability in your own life? First, practice detachment. Hold no tool, strategy, or identity as sacred. Attach only to vision and values. Everything else is negotiable. Second, seek information relentlessly. The adaptable are informed. They study trends, listen to diverse perspectives, scan for weak signals of change. Knowledge is the radar of adaptability. Third, test quickly and learn fast. Don't wait for certainty. Experiment small, pivot often, double down on what works. In a world of rapid shifts, speed of iteration beats size of resources. Fourth, reinvent identity. Ask yourself regularly, who am I becoming? Who must I become for the next stage of success? Refuse to be trapped in yesterday's definition of yourself. There is also a paradox here. Adaptability requires a strong core. Without principles, adaptation becomes chaos. Without vision, flexibility becomes drift. The most adaptable leaders are anchored in unshakable values but fluid in methods. The tree bends with the storm because its roots are deep. Be like that tree, rooted in purpose, flexible in branches. The law of adaptability also explains the psychology of winners versus losers. Losers see change as loss. Winners see change as leverage. Losers complain about disruption. Winners capitalize on it. Losers cling to old systems. Winners build new ones. In every disruption, there is a transfer of power from those who resist to those who adapt. The question is not whether change will come, but whether you will rise with it or be buried beneath it. In the modern world, adaptability is not optional. AI will transform industries. Climate change will alter economies. Demographics will shift markets. Culture will rewrite narratives. If you are not prepared to evolve, you will not just fall behind, you will vanish. But if you are adaptable, every shift becomes an opportunity, every challenge a gateway, every disruption a throne. The law of adaptability declares to stay the same is to die, to adapt is to thrive. The winners of tomorrow are not those who cling to what they know, but those who master what they don't yet understand. And so the call is clear. Loosen your grip, expand your vision, embrace change. For in the modern world, adaptability is not merely a skill, it is survival, it is strength, it is success. Chapter 5. The law of influence. Power in the modern world is rarely brute force. It is not the sword, the throne, or the bank account alone. True power today is influence, the ability to shape perceptions, guide decisions, and move people to action without coercion. Influence is invisible, yet it rules nations, builds empires, and drives fortunes. You do not need to hold official authority if you can influence the hearts and minds of others. Influence is authority disguised as choice. The law of influence states that the most successful individuals and institutions in the modern world are not those who demand obedience, but those who inspire it. Not those who enforce loyalty, but those who attract it. Not those who control resources, but those who control narratives. Think about the figures who dominate today's world stage. Elon Musk moves markets with a single tweet. Oprah Winfrey built an empire on trust and relatability, her recommendations turning unknown authors into bestsellers overnight. Politicians rise and fall, not because of policy papers, but because of their ability to influence emotions, perceptions, and beliefs. Even in business, influence outpaces product. Apple doesn't sell phones, it sells identity, lifestyle, and belonging. Nike doesn't just sell shoes, it sells empowerment. Just do it. This is the law of influence in action, but influence is not manipulation. Manipulation is short-term and fragile. Influence is long-term and enduring. Manipulation tricks people into choices they later regret. Influence aligns your vision with their desires so they feel empowered by following you. The first breeds resentment. The second builds loyalty. Influence rests on three foundations: trust, authority, and resonance. Together they form the architecture of modern power. 1. Trust, the currency of influence. Without trust, no influence lasts. Trust is earned not in grand gestures but in consistent reliability. A brand that delivers on its promises earns influence. A leader who speaks truth, even when uncomfortable, earns trust. A friend who shows up in small ways earns loyalty. People are drawn not to perfection but to authenticity. In the age of social media, where deception spreads fast, authenticity has become the rarest and most valuable commodity. Consider Warren Buffett. His empire is not built on charisma or flash, but on credibility. Investors trust him because his words and actions align. That trust has given him extraordinary influence. When he invests, the world pays attention. Trust is slow to build and quick to lose, but once you have it, influence flows naturally. 2. Authority, the weight of expertise. Influence also grows from competence. People follow those who know what they're talking about. Authority comes from mastery, knowledge, and experience. A doctor influences because of expertise in medicine. A strategist influences because of proven results. An entrepreneur influences because of demonstrated vision. Authority is not claimed. It is earned through discipline, learning, and demonstration. But authority in the modern world is shifting. No longer does it rest solely on degrees or titles. The digital era democratizes authority. A teenager on YouTube can command more influence than a university professor. Why? Because their expertise resonates with people, packaged in accessible ways. Authority today is about perceived competence, not institutional recognition. If you can solve problems, explain clearly, and provide value, your influence grows. 3. Resonance, the emotional bridge. The final foundation is resonance. People are not moved by logic alone. They are moved by emotion, story, and connection. Influence is not about cold facts, but about weaving those facts into a narrative that resonates with human desires, fears, and dreams. The best influencers are not lecturers. They are storytellers. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. He could have listed data on inequality. Instead, he gave the world "I have a dream." That dream resonated because it painted a vision people could feel. The resonance turned words into movement, speech into revolution, influence into history. In practical terms, this means that to influence you must ask, what do they desire? What do they fear? What story do they tell themselves about who they are? Then, align your message with that story. Influence grows when people feel seen, heard, and understood. But let's go deeper. Influence is also about framing reality. Whoever frames the conversation controls the outcome. Advertisers understand this. Politicians master it. Social media algorithms weaponize it. If you can shape how people interpret events, you control what they believe and how they act. For example, two leaders may face the same economic downturn. One frames it as catastrophe, spreading fear. Another frames it as opportunity for resilience and innovation. Guess which one earns trust and loyalty? The framing is the influence. Now, influence in the modern world is amplified by tools never before available: digital platforms, social media, global networks. A single post can reach millions. A viral idea can shift culture, but the principle remains the same. Those with trust, authority, and resonance wield the most influence. The digital age simply magnifies it. So how do you cultivate influence? First, master communication. Words are weapons. Learn to speak clearly, write persuasively, and tell stories that inspire. Second, embody consistency. People trust what they see repeatedly. Show up, deliver, repeat. Reliability breeds influence. Third, build expertise. Learn deeply, work diligently, demonstrate results. People follow competence. Fourth, connect emotionally. Understand the human heart as well as the human mind. Influence is about connection, not control. Fifth, leverage platforms. Share your message where attention flows. Influence unused is influence wasted. The law of influence also warns influence can be dangerous. To wield it without responsibility is to destroy trust, erode credibility, and collapse power. History is filled with demagogues who rose on influence but fell on deception. Influence without integrity is poison. Influence with integrity is greatness. The modern world rewards those who master influence. Employers promote those who lead with presence, not just competence. Businesses grow when customers feel connected, not just sold to. Leaders endure when people believe in them, not just fear them. Influence is the invisible hand guiding all visible success. So remember, success in the modern world is not about how loudly you shout, but how deeply you connect. Not about how much you demand, but how much you inspire. Influence is not force, it is alignment. And those who master alignment, master power itself. The law of influence whispers this truth. If you want to go fast, command. If you want to go far, influence. Chapter 6. The Law of Strategic Patience. In the age of instant gratification, where everything is designed to be fast, fast food, fast money, fast fame, patience has become rare. But make no mistake, the modern world still bows to the timeless principle of timing, and those who master patience, not as passivity but as strategy, hold an unfair advantage over everyone else. The law of strategic patience declares, true power and lasting success are not built in rushes of excitement, but in disciplined waiting, in deliberate restraint, in the mastery of timing. While the masses chase quick wins and collapse in exhaustion, the patient strategist plants seeds that grow into forests, builds foundations that survive storms, and strikes only when the moment guarantees victory. We must be clear, patience is not weakness. It is not indecision, nor is it laziness. Patience is active discipline. It is the ability to hold energy, resources, and desire in reserve until they can be released with maximum effect. It is the art of enduring discomfort today to secure dominance tomorrow. Consider nature itself. The bamboo tree takes years to grow underground, building roots that no one can see. For years there is no sign of progress, no reward for the farmer's labor. Then suddenly, in a matter of weeks, the bamboo shoots up to extraordinary heights. If the farmer gave up in those unseen years, he would miss the explosive harvest. Strategic patience works the same way. The roots come before the rise. History reveals this law everywhere. Nelson Mandela waited 27 years in prison, not surrendering to bitterness, but preparing himself for leadership. When released, his patience gave him moral authority and influence far greater than any force of arms could provide. Warren Buffett built one of the greatest fortunes not through wild gambles, but through the patient compounding of investments over decades. Amazon spent years making little to no profit, reinvesting, refining, expanding, until patience transformed it into a global empire. The problem today is that impatience has been normalized. Social media feeds condition us to crave likes and comments instantly. Hustle culture tells us that speed is everything. Move fast and break things became a mantra. But what is rarely discussed is the cost. Broken businesses, broken reputations, broken lives. Speed without patience creates collapse. Strategic patience, however, creates enduring empires. Let us break down the dimensions of this law. 1. Patience as preparation. Every great success story begins in obscurity. Athletes train in silence before the stadium cheers. Entrepreneurs build quietly before the market notices. Leaders study, refine, and absorb knowledge before they ever step into the spotlight. The impatient rush into action without roots. The patient prepare, so when their moment comes they cannot be shaken. Preparation is not glamorous. It is repetition, discipline, sometimes even boredom. But it is the soil in which mastery grows. The patient individual understands that mastery requires time, 10,000 hours, countless mistakes, long nights of unseen effort. The impatient crave shortcuts. But shortcuts lead to fragile success. The patient builds slow but builds strong. 2. Patience as timing. Strategic patience is about knowing when to act. Not too early, not too late, but precisely when conditions align. A general does not attack the moment he has soldiers. He attacks when the enemy is vulnerable. An investor does not buy simply because he has money. He buys when the market is undervalued. A negotiator does not speak the first word. She waits for silence to create leverage. Timing multiplies power. This is why impulsive people fail. They act at the wrong moment, wasting energy, burning bridges, exhausting resources. The strategic patient waits, observes, calculates, and then acts with precision. One well-timed move outweighs 1,000 rushed attempts. 3. Patience as restraint. Another dimension of patience is the ability to say not yet, to resist the temptation of easy wins, cheap pleasures, and fast recognition. Every empire builder faces moments where quick gains appear enticing, the extra profit through compromise, the shortcut through dishonesty, the instant gratification of applause. But the patient resist. They hold out for bigger victories. They delay gratification. Studies show this truth. The famous marshmallow experiment revealed that children who resisted eating one marshmallow immediately, waiting instead for two later, went on to achieve greater success in life. The principle is timeless. Those who can delay gratification dominate those who cannot. Strategic patience is the weapon of delayed reward. 4. Patience as endurance. Finally, strategic patience is about lasting through setbacks. Life will test you. Failure will arrive. Doors will close. The impatient quit, declare defeat, and retreat into comfort. But the patient endure. They persist when results are invisible. They remain steady. When others panic, they outlast competition simply by refusing to leave the field. Endurance turns temporary failure into eventual triumph. Think of Thomas Edison, who endured thousands of failed experiments before inventing the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is patience as endurance, the refusal to be broken by delay. Now let us be practical. How do you cultivate strategic patience in a world designed to destroy it? First, master your impulses. Do not make decisions in emotional heat. When anger, fear, or excitement drive you, pause. Strategic patience requires emotional control. Second, embrace the long game. Stop measuring progress in days. Think in years. Ask yourself, will this action matter in 5 years? If not, it is probably not worth rushing. Third, practice silence. In conversations, in negotiations, in conflict, silence is a weapon. The one who can wait longest often wins. Fourth, invest in compounding. Whether in money, skills, or relationships, small consistent efforts grow exponentially over time. Impatience kills compounding. Patience magnifies it. Fifth, anchor to vision. Impatience thrives when vision is small. A small dream demands quick payoff. A great vision justifies the wait. The bigger your why, the stronger your patience. The law of strategic patience, also has a warning. Patience must not become paralysis. Waiting forever is not strategy. It is fear disguised. Strategic patience requires readiness to act when the moment comes. Hesitation is as deadly as haste. The wise do not wait for perfect conditions. They wait for right enough conditions, then move decisively. In the end, patience is about power. Those who control their own timing control others. The impatient are ruled by urgency, the patient ruled by readiness. The impatient chase, the patient attract. The impatient crumble, the patient endure. Understand this: the world belongs not to the fastest, but to those who can move slow until the exact moment. Speed is required. The arrow drawn slowly back strikes with greater force. The storm that brews quietly destroys with unmatched intensity. So it is with strategic patience. The law of strategic patience declares: wait, prepare, endure, and strike. Not first but best. Chapter 7. The Law of Networks. In the modern world, no one rises alone. The myth of the self-made man is seductive, but it is incomplete. Every great success story is intertwined with others: mentors who gave guidance, allies who opened doors, collaborators who multiplied strength, and even rivals who sharpened skills through competition. The law of networks declares power and success are built not only on personal ability, but on the strength and depth of the relationships you cultivate. In an age of hyperconnectivity, influence flows through networks like electricity through wires. If you are isolated, you limit yourself to the small pool of your own energy. But if you are connected to a thriving network, you gain access to resources far beyond your own. Look closely at the world's most powerful figures. Politicians wield networks of supporters, donors, strategists, and media allies. Business titans leverage partnerships, suppliers, investors, and customers. Even artists and influencers thrive not only by talent, but through connections, platforms that amplify them, collaborations that expose them, communities that support them. Success without networks is fragile. Success with networks is unstoppable. Why does this law matter more now than ever? Because the modern world is driven by interdependence. Information spreads instantly. Opportunities travel across networks in seconds. A single introduction can transform your destiny, while a single connection can open markets, jobs, or ideas once inaccessible. In short, your network is your net worth. Let us explore the foundations of this law. 1. Networks multiply opportunity. Every person you meet carries doors you cannot yet see. A conversation today may connect you to a job tomorrow. A relationship you build now may lead to a business deal years later. The impatient ignore connections that don't pay immediately. The wise understand that every human link is a seed that may grow into a tree. History offers endless proof. Consider how Silicon Valley was built. The world's leading tech hub did not emerge from solitary geniuses coding in basements. It grew from networks of innovators, investors, and thinkers constantly sharing ideas, collaborating and competing. Hewlett and Packard started together in a garage, supported by Stanford connections. Decades later, PayPal's founding team, the so-called PayPal Mafia, would scatter and build companies like Tesla, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Palantir. Networks create ecosystems of opportunity. 2. Networks amplify influence. Power is not simply about what you know. It is about who repeats what you say, who supports your moves, and who spreads your reputation. Influence scales through people. A leader with no followers is powerless. A leader with a loyal network can move nations. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. His voice was extraordinary, but his impact depended on networks, churches, activists, allies, communities that carried his message into every corner of society. Or consider today's influencers. Their strength is not in solitary content, but in networks of followers who amplify every post, every message, every brand deal. 3. Networks protect and sustain. When crises strike, networks are lifelines. A business collapse, a career setback, a personal challenge, the network provides support, resources, advice, and rescue. Those who live in isolation crumble under pressure. Those who are connected are lifted up. This is why ancient tribes survived where individuals perished. Humans are wired for networks. In modern form, these networks look like professional associations, mastermind groups, alumni circles, or digital communities. The wise invest in them long before they need them. 4. Networks shape identity. Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Networks are not neutral. They either elevate you or drag you down. A network of complainers will infect you with excuses. A network of high performers will push you toward excellence. The law of networks demands ruthless selection. You must design your circle. Seek those whose vision inspires you, whose discipline challenges you, whose results prove possibility. Surround yourself with mediocrity and you will unconsciously settle. Surround yourself with greatness and you will unconsciously rise. 5. Networks are built, not found. Too many people believe they must get lucky to meet the right people, but networks are built intentionally. They grow through consistent value exchange, through deliberate presence in the right environments, through generosity, curiosity, and authenticity. This requires skill to build networks. Show up where value circulates. Conferences, forums, communities, mentorship programs. Position yourself where ambitious people gather. Offer before you ask. The most magnetic networkers are not those who beg for help, but those who add value: an introduction, a recommendation, an idea, even encouragement. Nurture consistently. A network dies if neglected. Send messages, share opportunities, celebrate wins, check in, small touches, keep connections alive. Bridge networks. The most powerful individuals are connectors, people who unite separate groups. If you can link 2 people who benefit from knowing each other, you gain influence in both circles. The dangers of isolation. The opposite of this law is dangerous. Isolation shrinks opportunity. Pride makes some believe they need no one. Fear makes others avoid rejection. But isolation is weakness disguised as independence. Even the strongest individuals fall without networks. Consider the downfall of brilliant inventors who refused to collaborate, or leaders who alienated allies until they stood alone. Isolation ensures fragility. The digital age advantage. The modern world gives you unprecedented tools for building networks. LinkedIn, online communities, mastermind groups, podcasts and virtual summits allow you to connect across continents. Geography is no longer a barrier. The wise leverage these tools not for shallow likes but for meaningful connections. One thoughtful message to the right person can create opportunity across borders. But beware, digital networks must still be grounded in authenticity. Shallow networking, where you collect contacts like trophies, creates noise. Strategic networking, where you invest in fewer but deeper relationships, creates power. Quality always outweighs quantity. Practical steps to apply the law of networks. Audit your circle. Write down the 5 people you spend the most time with. Ask, do they elevate or drain me? Adjust accordingly. Expand strategically. Identify communities aligned with your vision. Join them. Participate actively. Create value first. Each week reach out to one person in your network with pure value. Share an idea, a resource or encouragement. Do this without expectation. Bridge connections. Once a month introduce 2 people in your network who could benefit from knowing each other. Over time you'll become a hub. Invest in depth. Rather than chasing 1,000 shallow contacts, focus on cultivating 10-20 strong relationships. Depth creates trust. Trust creates opportunity. Understand this: in the modern world, talent without networks stalls. Networks are multipliers. They turn individual brilliance into collective power.
They transform solitary ambition into unstoppable movements. The law of networks declares those who connect rise, those who isolate fall. So cultivate your network like a garden. Plant seeds of value, water relationships with consistency, remove weeds of negativity, build bridges not walls, and remember your network is not just who you know but who knows you, who trusts you, and who is willing to move for you when it matters most.
Chapter 8. The Law of Adaptability. In every era of history, one truth has stood above the rest. The future belongs not to the strongest, not to the smartest, but to the most adaptable. The law of adaptability is the recognition that change is constant, inevitable, and ruthless. Those who resist it are broken by it. Those who embrace and master it thrive in ways that seem almost magical. The modern world is a storm of disruption. Technology evolves daily. Industries are transformed overnight. Global crises reshape economies, and cultural trends shift with breathtaking speed. What was certain yesterday becomes irrelevant today. Careers vanish, businesses collapse, and entire ways of living become obsolete. The rigid crumble, the flexible survive, the adaptable rise. The danger of rigidity. Look at history. Companies that once ruled the world, Kodak, Blockbuster, Nokia, fell not because they lacked resources or talent, but because they clung to old ways. They believed what worked yesterday would work tomorrow. Their refusal to adapt sealed their fate. The same is true of individuals. Think of the worker who refuses to learn new skills, insisting their old expertise is enough. Or the leader who ignores changing markets, convinced their authority guarantees success. Rigidity is arrogance disguised as security, and in the modern world, arrogance is fatal. Adaptability, by contrast, is humility in action. It is the recognition that the world owes you nothing, that what worked once may fail tomorrow, and that growth requires constant evolution. The adaptable remain students forever, ready to unlearn and relearn as the world demands. The power of adaptability. Why does adaptability matter so much in the modern world? Because the pace of change has accelerated beyond anything humanity has ever seen. A single invention can rewrite global industries. A social shift can upend political systems. A new technology can make skills obsolete in a matter of years. Consider the rise of artificial intelligence. Within a short span, entire professions are being reshaped, from customer service to marketing to creative industries. Those who adapt by learning to use AI as a tool will thrive. Those who resist will find themselves irrelevant. Or take the COVID-19 pandemic. Businesses that adapted quickly, shifting online, embracing remote work, rethinking delivery models, survived and even grew. Those that refused to adjust were wiped out. Adaptability is not optional. It is the price of survival. Principles of adaptability. To live by the law of adaptability, you must train your mind and habits. It is not a trait you are born with, but a skill you can cultivate. Embrace uncertainty. The adaptable understand that certainty is an illusion. They do not fear the unknown. They lean into it. Instead of asking, "How do I avoid risk?" they ask, "How do I navigate it?" Detach from the past. The greatest enemy of adaptability is nostalgia. People cling to old methods, old successes, old identities. But clinging to the past is like clinging to a sinking ship. The adaptable honor the past, but are not enslaved by it. Cultivate curiosity. Adaptable minds are curious minds. They ask questions, explore new perspectives, and stay hungry for knowledge. Curiosity expands awareness, and awareness fuels flexibility. Experiment relentlessly. Adaptability is not passive waiting. It is active testing. The adaptable try new strategies, new tools, new approaches. They are not afraid to fail, because every failure provides data. Reinvent identity.
Perhaps the hardest step. Adaptable people do not tie their identity to one role, job, or label. They see themselves as evolving beings. A person who sees themselves only as a banker will collapse when banking changes. But someone who sees themselves as a problem solver can thrive in any field. The adaptable mindset. Adaptability begins in the mind. It requires shifting from fixed to fluid thinking. Fixed thinkers see the world as stable, predictable, and controllable. Fluid thinkers understand that chaos is natural and that the key is not control but adjustment. Imagine a tree in the storm. The rigid tree with unyielding branches snaps under pressure. The flexible tree bends with the wind and survives. Human success is no different. The strongest are those who can bend, shift, and return stronger after every disruption. Adaptability and power in the modern world. Adaptability is not just survival, it is a weapon of power. Those who adapt fastest gain advantages others cannot match. In business, the entrepreneur who sees emerging trends early and adapts captures markets before competitors notice. In leadership, the leader who adapts communication styles to diverse teams inspires loyalty across cultures. In personal growth, the individual who adapts habits and mindsets grows while others stagnate. Power, therefore, is not about domination of the present. It is about anticipation of the future. The adaptable hold power because they shape themselves faster than the world shapes them. The discipline of continuous learning. Adaptability demands continuous learning. It means upgrading your skills, expanding your perspectives, and refusing to be comfortable. The adaptable are lifelong students. They read, study, attend seminars, take online courses, and learn from every experience. But learning is not enough. The adaptable also unlearn. They let go of outdated beliefs, obsolete skills, and ineffective habits. Unlearning is often harder than learning, but it is essential. What got you here may not take you further. Practical steps to cultivate adaptability. Challenge routines. Regularly disrupt your own patterns. Try new methods. Visit new places. Meet new people. Discomfort breeds growth. Seek feedback. Surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth, even when it hurts. Adaptation requires honest mirrors. Stay informed. Track trends in technology, economy, and culture. Adaptability requires awareness. Train resilience. Build habits that strengthen emotional toughness. Meditation, exercise, journaling. Adaptation demands energy and calm under stress. Pivot quickly. When signs of change appear, don't wait until crisis forces you. Adapt early, while others are still clinging to the past. The courage to adapt. Adaptability is not easy. It requires courage to let go of what you know, to step into uncertainty, to risk failure. But the alternative, stagnation, irrelevance, collapse, is far more painful. The adaptable see change not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Every disruption is an invitation to evolve. Every setback is a signal to adjust. Every ending is a doorway to a new beginning. Final word. The law of adaptability declares, flexibility is strength, evolution is power, and survival belongs to those who change faster than the world around them. Do not resist the storm. Learn to ride it. Do not cling to the past. Shape the future. Do not fear reinvention. Embrace it, because in the modern world, the only constant is change, and the only true security is adaptability.
Chapter 9. The Law of Focus. There is a universal truth about success that few dare to fully embrace. Scattered energy is wasted energy. A man who divides himself among too many pursuits achieves little in any of them. A woman who tries to please everyone pleases no one. The law of focus is simple yet ruthless. What you concentrate on expands, and what you dilute with distraction dies. In today's world, focus is more valuable than money, more precious than intelligence, and more rare than talent. Attention has become the greatest currency of the modern age. Companies spend billions to capture it. Social media platforms thrive on stealing it, and distractions hunt it every second of the day. The average person wakes up, checks their phone, and begins scattering their attention in 1,000 directions: news headlines, social updates, endless notifications. By the time the day ends, their mind is exhausted, but nothing truly meaningful has been built. But high performers, leaders and visionaries understand the law of focus. They guard their attention like treasure. They choose fewer battles but fight them with full force. They resist the temptation of shiny objects and distractions, channeling their energy into a handful of priorities. And because of this, they achieve results that others cannot even dream of. The science of focus. Focus is not merely a motivational concept, it is deeply biological. The human brain operates like a spotlight. Wherever you shine the light of your attention, energy flows. Neurons fire, connections strengthen, and progress builds. But when you scatter the light, shining it briefly here, then there, then somewhere else, the power diminishes. Psychologists call this attention residue. Every time you switch tasks, a part of your brain remains stuck on the previous one, reducing your efficiency. Multitasking, therefore, is not a skill, it is a lie. The mind is designed for sequential focus, not simultaneous focus. Every shift carries a cost. This is why elite athletes, artists, and entrepreneurs immerse themselves deeply in one pursuit at a time. Their laser-like attention allows them to reach levels of mastery impossible for the distracted majority. The law of focus demands this same discipline from you. The cost of distraction. Let us be clear, distraction is not harmless. It is the silent assassin of dreams. Every moment you spend scrolling aimlessly is a moment stolen from your future. Every hour wasted on trivial conversations is an hour denied to your craft, your growth, your purpose. The tragedy is that most people live in constant distraction without realizing it. They confuse busyness with productivity, scattering their energy across dozens of shallow activities, while never advancing deeply on what truly matters. They end each day exhausted yet unfulfilled, wondering why progress feels elusive. Focus, therefore, is not optional. It is survival in a noisy world. Examples of the power of focus. Consider Warren Buffett, one of the world's richest men. When asked about the secret to his success, he pointed to focus. Buffett famously tells people to write down their top 25 career goals, then cross out 20, and dedicate themselves only to the top 5. Anything outside the top 5 becomes a dangerous distraction, even if it seems important. This ruthless prioritization is how he amassed a fortune. Or look at Steve Jobs. When he returned to Apple in 1997, the company had dozens of scattered projects. Jobs slashed them down to just a few products and poured all resources into them. The result was the iMac, the iPod, and eventually the iPhone, innovations that reshaped the world. Focus creates impact. Scattered effort creates mediocrity. Living by the law of focus. How then can you apply this law in your own life? Define your one thing. Ask yourself, what is the single most important goal in my life right now? Not 5, not 10, but 1. Until that is achieved, all other pursuits are secondary. Eliminate the noise. Cut out distractions mercilessly. Delete apps that steal your time. Say no to commitments that do not serve your higher purpose. Protect your mental space like a fortress. Create deep work rituals. Set aside blocks of uninterrupted time for your most important tasks. No phone, no notifications, no interruptions, just you and the work. Even 90 minutes of pure focus can accomplish more than an entire day of scattered effort. Measure what matters. Focus requires feedback. Track progress on the few things that matter most.
Ignore metrics that don't align with your ultimate vision. Repeat relentlessly. Focus is not a one-time decision, it is a daily battle. Every morning, distractions will call for your attention. Every evening you must ask, did I win the battle of focus today? Focus in relationships and leadership. The law of focus extends beyond work. In relationships, focus means being fully present. Instead of half listening while thinking about work, you give undivided attention to the person in front of you. Presence builds trust, intimacy, and respect. In leadership, focus means aligning teams around a shared mission. A leader who chases too many priorities confuses their people. A leader who identifies one core objective and rallies everyone around it creates momentum that cannot be stopped. Great leaders simplify, clarify, and direct focus. The hidden enemy, fear of missing out. One of the greatest enemies of focus is fear of missing out, or FOMO. People scatter their attention because they fear choosing one path means losing others. They dabble in many ventures, attend every event, chase every opportunity, terrified of closing doors. But the paradox is this: by trying to hold everything, they hold nothing. The successful understand that saying yes to one thing means saying no to many others. They embrace the power of no. They know that mastery requires sacrifice. Focus as power. Why is focus a law of power? Because the world bends to concentrated force. A beam of light scattered is harmless. A beam of light focused becomes a laser that can cut through steel. Human energy works the same way. History is full of individuals who, by focusing on a singular vision, changed the course of humanity. Their power did not come from doing everything but from doing one thing, relentlessly. If you want to build wealth, focus on one business until it thrives. If you want to master a skill, dedicate yourself to years of deliberate practice. If you want to transform your health, focus on a handful of sustainable habits. Power belongs to those who focus. Final word. The law of focus declares, scatter your energy, and you lose it. Concentrate it, and you amplify it. The mediocre dabble, the powerful concentrate. The successful are not those who try everything, but those who commit to one path until it yields extraordinary results. Guard your attention, channel your energy, commit fully, because in the modern world where distraction is the norm, focus is the ultimate superpower.
Chapter 10. The Law of Persistence. There is one law that towers above all others, the law that separates dreamers from achievers, the talented from the legendary, the starters from the finishers. It is the law of persistence. This law declares a simple but brutal truth. Success is never given to the one who begins. It is given to the one who refuses to stop. The world is full of people with intelligence, ambition, and even opportunity. Yet most of them fail, not because they lacked skill or luck, but because they quit too soon. They surrendered in the valley before the climb ended. They abandoned the pursuit just moments before the breakthrough. The law of persistence ensures that only those with relentless endurance, those who endure storms and setbacks without surrender, taste the rewards of power and success. Persistence is not glamorous. It is not dramatic. It does not look like inspiration or passion. Persistence is often boring, painful, repetitive, and lonely. It is the quiet decision to keep moving when enthusiasm fades, when results delay, and when obstacles multiply. But it is precisely this decision, repeated daily, that builds empires, fortunes, and legacies. The nature of persistence. Persistence is more than mere effort. It is effort applied consistently over time, fueled by conviction, not emotion. Anyone can work hard for a day. Many can push for a week. A few last for months. But only the persistent endure for years, adjusting strategies but never abandoning the mission. Think of water dripping on stone. Each drop seems weak, insignificant. Yet over time the stone is carved. The power of persistence lies not in force, but in repetition. The world eventually yields to those who refuse to give up. The enemies of persistence. Why do so many fail to persist? There are three great enemies. Impatience. People expect immediate results. When progress is slow, they assume failure. They forget that most success compounds invisibly before it becomes visible. Discouragement. Obstacles appear. Critics attack. Setbacks sting. Most interpret these as signs they should stop, when in truth they are simply tests of resolve. Distraction. New opportunities tempt people away from their original mission. They start one project, face difficulties, then abandon it for another. Over years they start many things but finish none. The persistent conquer these enemies. They see obstacles as training, discouragement as fuel, and distractions as traps. They measure progress in decades, not days. Persistence in history. History honors the persistent. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. When asked why he didn't quit, he replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Colonel Sanders was rejected by hundreds of restaurants before someone agreed to sell his fried chicken recipe. He was in his 60s when success arrived. Nelson Mandela endured 27 years in prison before leading his nation. His persistence was not just personal, it reshaped history. Greatness belongs to those who persist when everyone else surrenders. The psychology of persistence. Persistence requires a deep shift in mindset. Most people operate on feelings. If they feel motivated, they act. If they feel tired, they stop. But the persistent are driven not by feelings but by commitments. They act regardless of emotion. Their compass is purpose, not mood. Psychologists call this grit, the combination of passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Studies show grit predicts success better than IQ, talent, or social status. The gritty are those who endure. This is why persistence is rare. It demands that you keep walking in darkness, trusting the light will eventually appear. The process of persistence. To live by the law of persistence, you must build systems that carry you through storms. Define your why. A weak reason cannot fuel strong persistence. Find a mission larger than comfort. Ask yourself, why must I achieve this? If your why is strong enough, know how can stop you. Break it down. Persistence feels overwhelming. If the goal is massive, break it into steps. Focus on today's task, not the mountain. Small wins sustain momentum. Track progress. Persistence thrives on evidence. Write down progress, however small. See the compounding effect. This proof keeps you moving when doubt whispers. Embrace setbacks. Failures are not signals to quit. They are feedback. Adjust the method, not the mission. Learn, pivot, and continue. Surround yourself with strength. Persistence is easier in community. Find allies, mentors and models who remind you that the struggle is universal. Persistence and power. Power in the modern world is rarely instant. Building wealth, mastering a craft, or leading movements takes years. Persistence turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. The impatient fade. The persistent dominate. Persistence itself becomes power, because most people quit early. If you simply stay in the game longer than your competitors, you outlast them. In business, most startups die in their first 5 years. Persistence alone weeds out the majority. In self-improvement, most give up on habits within weeks. Persistence ensures you stand apart. The paradox of persistence. Persistence does not mean stubbornly repeating the same mistakes. It means refusing to abandon the mission while being flexible in strategy. The persistent adapt, but do not quit. They change the how, never the why. This paradox explains why persistence and adaptability are twin laws. Persistence keeps you on the journey. Adaptability ensures you adjust the path. Together they guarantee eventual victory. Practical habits of persistence. Daily discipline. Do the work whether you feel like it or not.
Resilient self-talk. Replace "I can't" with "I will figure it out." Visualize the end. Keep the outcome vivid in your mind to fuel endurance. Reward consistency. Celebrate showing up, not just winning. Detach from time. Success may take longer than expected. Commit anyway. Final word. The law of persistence declares, nothing can stop the one who refuses to stop. Talent may fail, luck may fade, resources may vanish, but persistence endures. Be willing to outlast, outwork, and outwait. Be willing to keep climbing when the mountain grows steep, to keep rowing when the sea turns violent, to keep fighting when strength seems gone, because success is never sudden. It is the accumulation of countless days of persistence, stacked one upon another, until the world can no longer deny you.